What if I told you that the heart-healthy breakfast you've trusted for decades is actually accelerating muscle loss after 60? As a medical professional, I was shocked to discover that the iconic Quaker Oats sitting in your pantry isn't the safety net you think it is. Relying on it could be why you're feeling weaker, despite eating clean. Let's talk about your morning routine. Coffee, a bagel, maybe that heart-healthy bowl of cereal. You've been told for decades this is the gold standard. I'm not saying fiber is bad, but if you're over 60, there's a far more dangerous threat than cholesterol. And your breakfast is completely ignoring it. It's called sarcopenia, the slow, invisible erosion of your physical independence. Not just looking thinner, but losing the functional strength to open jars, carry groceries, or catch yourself when you slip. According to the National Institutes of Health, starting at age 30, adults lose 3 to 5% of muscle mass every decade. After 60, that rate accelerates dramatically. Think of your muscles like a retirement savings account. You spent your youth making deposits, but now you're in the withdrawal phase. Sarcopenia is like inflation eating away at your savings. Without massive deposits every morning to counteract it, you'll go bankrupt physically. That bowl of oatmeal gives you energy and helps digestion, but provides almost zero currency for your muscle bank. You're feeding your energy levels while starving your structure. What good is perfect cholesterol if you lack the leg strength to get out of a chair? What's the value of a healthy heart if your body is too weak to support the life you want? The standard American diet leaves you fueled but fragile. So why does the same diet that kept you slim at 30 make you frail at 60? It's called anabolic resistance. Your muscle cells have become hard of hearing. When you were young, your body was incredibly sensitive to protein. A few eggs, some chicken, and your body immediately grabbed those amino acids to repair tissue. Think of your muscle metabolism like a car engine. At 25, you barely touched the ignition. A tiny spark of protein and the engine roared to life. But now that engine has 60 years of mileage. The parts are worn, the sensors less responsive. Turning the key gently doesn't work anymore. You need to stomp the gas pedal. You need a surge of fuel to wake it up. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition mapped this with frightening precision. The standard recommendation of 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram works for young bodies. But to overcome resistance and trigger muscle synthesis after 60, you need 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram, nearly double to get the same result. This is where leucine comes in. This amino acid is like the construction foreman. When you eat protein, leucine screams at the workers to start building. But because of anabolic resistance, your construction crew is now wearing noise-canceling headphones. The quiet whisper from oatmeal doesn't get their attention. You need a shout. A high concentration of leucine hitting your bloodstream all at once to flip the muscle growth switch. If you don't hit that threshold, nothing happens. It's all or nothing. You can't cross a chasm in 2 small jumps. This is why grazing on small amounts of protein or relying on plain oatmeal fails seniors. You're feeding the system, but not triggering it, trying to start a cold engine with a weak battery. You eat, you feel full, but your muscles remain in breakdown mode, continuing that slow slide into frailty. You aren't lazy, you're just underdosed. Here is the solution, and it requires a complete shift in how you view your plate. It is called the 30-gram rule. Most Americans follow a dietary pattern that nutritionists call backloading. Abion has ajurtat. You have a coffee and maybe a waffle for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, and then you feast on a massive steak, roasted chicken, and mashed potatoes for dinner. You think you're getting enough protein because your total for the day looks fine. But the science says you are doing it completely backwards. A groundbreaking study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition revealed exactly why this approach fails. Researchers compared 2 groups of people eating the exact same total amount of protein per day. The first group followed the typical American pattern: a tiny amount of protein at breakfast, about 10 grams, and a massive amount at dinner, about 65 grams. The second group did something different. They redistributed that protein evenly, ensuring they hit exactly 30 grams at breakfast, 30 grams at lunch, and 30 grams at dinner. The results were undeniable. The group that ate the 30 grams at breakfast achieved 25% higher muscle protein synthesis over 24 hours compared to the backloaders. Think about that. By simply moving when you eat your protein, without changing what you eat, you could be building 25% more muscle every single day. Here is why this matters more than you might think. Unlike fat or carbohydrates, your body cannot store protein for later. You don't have a protein tank you can fill up at night to use the next morning. If you miss that 30-gram threshold at breakfast, your muscles spend the entire morning in a state of starvation and breakdown. You cannot make up for it at dinner. That massive steak you eat at 7 p.m., your body can only use about 30 grams of it for muscle repair at one time. The rest is just burned for fuel or stored as fat. You effectively wasted the most anabolic window of your day. And this brings us back to the problem with your oatmeal. Turn that container around and look at the nutrition label. A standard serving of oatmeal contains only about 5 to 6 grams of protein. Even if you add a splash of almond milk, you are maybe hitting 8 grams. That means you are falling 22 grams short of the threshold needed to stop muscle loss. You are starting every single day in a deficit. To get 30 grams of protein from oatmeal alone, you would have to eat 5 or 6 bowls in one sitting, which is biologically impossible for most people. This is why the heart-healthy choice is often the muscle-wasting choice. To fix this, we need to stop looking at breakfast as light fuel and start treating it as your primary construction time. Now that we know the target is 30 grams, what is the best tool to get us there? We are moving to number 1 on our solution list, the whole egg. And before you panic about your cholesterol and click away, let me explain why this food is the single most powerful weapon you have against sarcopenia. It all comes down to that light switch we talked about earlier, leucine. You see, not all proteins are created equal. You can get protein from wheat or beans, but vegetable proteins are often low in leucine. They struggle to flip the switch. Eggs, however, are what nutrition scientists call the gold standard for biological value. They are packed with the precise amino acid profile your aging muscles are desperate for. The evidence for this is overwhelming. A comparative study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition looked directly at this battle between breakfast staples. Researchers compared the muscle-building response of egg protein versus cereal protein. The results weren't even close. They found that eggs have a significantly higher digestible indispensable amino acid score, or DAS, than cereal grains. In plain English, this means your body actually uses the protein from eggs to build tissue. When you eat cereal, a large portion of that protein is simply wasted because it lacks the biological keys to unlock muscle synthesis. You would have to eat a mountain of wheat to get the same anabolic impact as a standard serving of eggs. But here is the mistake I see seniors making at diners across America every weekend. You order the health-conscious option, the egg white omelet. You think you are doing your heart a favor, but you are actually throwing away the medicine. For years, we demonized the yolk because of cholesterol, but modern science has largely exonerated dietary cholesterol for the vast majority of people. The yolk is where the magic happens. It contains nearly half the protein, but more importantly, it holds the critical nutrients like vitamin D, B12, and choline that your brain and muscles need to function. When you toss the yolk, you are tossing the very nutrients that help regulate your metabolism. So, here is my challenge to you. Stop fearing the egg. To hit that 30-gram threshold, you don't need to drink raw eggs like a boxer in a movie. 3 to 4 whole eggs will get you a massive dose of high-quality, leucine-rich protein that cereal simply cannot match. If 4 eggs sounds like too much, simply adding 2 hard-boiled eggs to a smaller breakfast is an easy way to bridge the gap. It is cheap, it is convenient, and scientifically speaking, it is the most efficient way to turn your anabolic engine back on. Now, I hear you saying, but I don't have time to cook eggs every morning. Or, I prefer something sweet, not savory. I have good news. You don't need a stove or a frying pan to hit your anabolic targets. You just need to walk down the dairy aisle of your local supermarket. But you need to be extremely careful, because there is a nutritional trap waiting for you right next to the milk. Most seniors grab the standard fruit-flavored yogurt cups they have been buying since the 1990s. But if you turn that container around, you will see the problem. That cup is mostly sugar, water, and thickeners, offering a pathetic 6 grams of protein. That is barely a snack, let alone a muscle-building meal. To fix this, you need to make one simple, specific switch: Greek yogurt. The difference here is absolutely staggering. A single cup of plain Greek yogurt, brands like Phage or Chobani that you see at every grocery store, packs about 20 grams of protein. That is more than 3 times the protein of regular yogurt, for roughly the same amount of calories. It is arguably the most concentrated, convenient protein source available to you. And it brings a secret weapon to the table called casein. Research from the British Journal of Nutrition highlights the unique power of dairy proteins in the fight against frailty. They found that dairy protein is distinct because it contains casein, which is a slow-digesting protein, while the protein in eggs hits your system relatively fast. Casein forms a gel in your stomach and releases amino acids into your bloodstream over several hours. This provides a steady, sustained trickle of fuel to your muscles, keeping that anabolic switch flipped on long after breakfast is over. The study noted that this specific nutritional profile is crucial for preventing not just muscle loss, but bone fractures as well. And we cannot talk about dairy without mentioning the unsung hero of the breakfast table: cottage cheese. I know it has a reputation as an old-fashioned diet food, but nutritionally, it is a powerhouse. A single cup of cottage cheese gives you a massive 25 to 28 grams of protein. You are practically hitting your entire 30-gram target with just one bowl, with absolutely no cooking required. This is also a game changer for anyone dealing with texture sensitivities. As we age, dental issues or dry mouth can sometimes make chewing dense meats, like steak or pork chops, unappealing. Greek yogurt and cottage cheese are soft, easy to swallow, and require zero preparation. You just open the lid, maybe throw in some berries for antioxidants, and you have a breakfast that is scientifically superior to oatmeal in every single way. Now, I know there is a group of you watching who are strictly Team Oatmeal. You are thinking, but doctor, I love my warm bowl in the morning. It is comforting, it is cheap, and I have eaten it for 40 years. I hear you. And the good news is, you do not have to throw that canister in the trash. You just have to fundamentally change the chemistry of the bowl. We are going to hack your oatmeal. The problem with oatmeal is not the oats themselves, it is the protein void. To fix this, we need to artificially inject the leucine that nature left out. This brings us to a critical strategy supported by the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Their research on elderly populations found that when you take a low-protein meal, like your standard bowl of oats, and supplement it with whey protein, you can successfully restore the muscle protein synthesis response to youthful levels. You are essentially fortifying a weak structure to withstand the pressure of aging. So, here is your mandatory 3-step protocol to keep the oatmeal but lose the frailty. First, stop making it with water. Water is a wasted opportunity. Use ultra-filtered milk, which is becoming very common in American supermarkets. It has nearly double the protein of regular milk. That is your base. Second, and this is non-negotiable, you must add a scoop of high-quality whey protein powder. Stir it in after cooking so it does not clump. This single scoop instantly adds 20 to 25 grams of rapid-absorbing protein, correcting the amino acid profile of the oats. If you dislike protein powder, try the egg white whip. Take half a cup of liquid egg whites, the kind you buy in a carton, and whisk them into your oatmeal while it is simmering on the stove. They will cook right into the oats, making them incredibly fluffy and creamy without tasting like eggs. You won't even know they are there, but your muscles will. By making these modifications, you turn a biological disaster into a muscle-preserving superfood. It takes 2 extra minutes, but it changes the entire metabolic impact of your morning. So, here is the bottom line. You do not have to overhaul your entire life to defeat sarcopenia. You do not have to become a bodybuilder or spend hours in the kitchen. You simply need to be smarter than your aging physiology. By making this one specific adjustment, swapping that low-protein bowl of oats for a high-leucine meal of eggs, Greek yogurt, or protein-fortified oatmeal, you are doing something profound. You are flipping the metabolic switch that time tried to turn off. Remember the lesson from the University of Copenhagen study we discuss so often on this channel. The data consistently shows that small, targeted, science-based interventions yield results that vague, general advice simply cannot match. Just as specific movements can restore mobility, specific nutrients can restore strength, but you have to hit the numbers. That 30-gram threshold is the difference between maintenance and decay. I want you to take a moment and genuinely visualize your life 10 years from now. Imagine it clearly. In one version of the future, you are frail. You hesitate before stepping off a curb. You need assistance to carry a bag of potting soil for your garden. You feel your world shrinking because your body can no longer support your ambitions. That is the path of anabolic resistance left unchecked. Now imagine the alternative. You are 80 years old, but you are walking with power. You are the grandparent who doesn't just watch the kids play, but gets down on the floor to play with them, and more importantly, gets back up without grabbing the furniture. You are carrying your own groceries, climbing stairs without windedness, and living with total functional independence. That reality is not a matter of genetic luck. It is a biological choice you make every single morning when you decide what to put on your spoon. It is never too late to rewrite your physical trajectory. Your muscles are waiting for the signal. You just have to send it. Now, I want to hear from you. Be honest with me in the comments below. What has been your go-to breakfast for the last few years? Are you a coffee and toast person, a bagel on the run person, or have you been relying on that bowl of oatmeal? Let me know what you are eating now and which of the 3 solutions we discussed today you are going to try first. I read and reply to the comments because I want to see you succeed. Let's future-proof your body, starting with your very next meal.